Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Hello and welcome to Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. It's another Tuesday in the life of the world, and one in which Nigerian workers may have downed tools already nationwide. Plus, if you live and work or are traveling out of Lagos this morning, let us inform you that a major accident has left the Otedola Bridge totally inaccessible to traffic. Alternative roads are strongly advised. Let us now head into the show, beginning with the newspaper headlines before we take a look into at the issues we'll be focusing on today's show. I am Adidolapo Fatila Ajayi, and with me in the studio to analyze papers is a public affairs commentator, Cyril Abako. Good morning, Cyril.
Good morning, Dolapo.
You look good this morning.
Thank you.
As usual.
I'm glad to be here.
Welcome on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so we go straight into the newspaper headlines, and we start with the Guardian newspapers. The headline story is saying doctors, patients bemoan diabetes epidemic, 200% spike on treatment. That's a big one.
It is a big one. You know that in Nigeria today, malaria and diabetes are leading causes of death. Malaria alone, for example, kills more persons on a daily basis than COVID ever did. You have diabetes, of course. I think that because of our lifestyle here, because we tend to consume a lot of energy-giving foods, cassava-related foods, sugar, and so on. So I think it's prevalent because of the way we live. But then again, why aren't we seeing the corresponding investment in research? For example, our universities, there's one in Ibadan, the one in Lagos. I mean, they've been around for quite some time, and they've undertaken research at various levels to be able to understand lifestyle, to be able to understand, yes, and be able to prefer solutions. When these sort of things are prevalent and they seem to be overwhelming us, it's not because of the preponderance of the problem. It's more about the fact that we've not invested, enough to also wind back the hand of, shall I say, nature or of course. So that's where we are. But then again, in light of current realities, of course, the economy is not where it should be. The Naira, the exchange rate is terrible. A lot is not just working out for us economically, and so cost of treatment, of course, naturally has gone up. A lot of drugs that are used in treating diabetes and so on are not manufactured locally, mostly from India and Europe. So when that is the case, I mean, you have to earn foreign exchange to be able to import them. So it becomes some kind of double jeopardy that perhaps only God can save us from. But I think that we can do a lot more to
have a lot to do. Okay, let's go on. NLC TUC ignore court order, begin nationwide strike over assault on Ajero. Okay, Knox praise for INEC as Derrick host to victory in Bayelsa. You can see that story on page 6, rather, on the Guardian newspaper. And then human trafficking, Benue ranked highest as 1.6 million Nigerians get trapped in modern slavery. That's another story there. And then diplomatic row brews as Saudi denies Air Peace passengers Jeddah entry. That's another story we need to talk about.
Yes, we need to. But again, I think that one of the reasons why the world mistreats Nigerians largely, South Africa, for example, Saudi Arabia now, even Germany, the German Chancellor, recently was saying that they may have to deport a lot of Nigerians and so on.
That's wonderful.
There is hardly any country in the world today that when she starts with Nigeria, stands lower or lesser than Nigeria. We are always the ones who are begging for support, begging for aid, begging for investment, begging for something. So Nigeria, I honestly don't think that there's any country, any serious country in the world today that when Nigeria, when we stand at par with them, we're able to spar on an equal basis. We're not doing that. This thing is coming 2 days or 3 days after they held the Saudi Africa Summit, where the Saudi government pledged to invest in Nigerian refineries and also to support us in floating the Naira in our foreign foreign currency policy. Then 2 days later, they are telling people to turn back. The reality is this: if at that summit it had been the case of they were asking us to come and help their own economy, help them, believe me, even if Nigerians went into Saudi airspace and poured human waste on, they first phone the embassy and say we are reporting this. Then they say then maybe the foreign embassy will not relate to the Nigerian government. So there's a procedure. Now they bypass every protocol and just said, you guys, you can't land. It just tells you that, you know, it's the way we've been treated. Yes, it's the way they perceive us. It's who we are. When they see through you, they can run roughshod over you. So where's Nigeria? Who are we? It is not about this matter. Don't take this matter as let's take it for what it is. The South Africans turned back a Nigerian Nigerians were going to South Africa, and I think that was under Goodluck Jonathan. They turned back the plane. Nigeria just said, you know what? As they were landing to, oh yeah, turn back the plane and go back. They came, you know, they had to beg. Then years down the line, a similar thing happened, and we couldn't do anything about it. Airpeace had to be the one to go to South Africa to now go and pack Nigerians back to Nigeria because our government could care less about what was going on there. Yes. Do you recall that even in Ghana, the Ghanaian government went and bulldozed Nigerian High Commission in Ghana?
Can imagine.
So how many countries in the world are doing this sort of things? And all that we could do was say, no, we don't want trouble. We're not looking for... It's not trouble. It is called standing up to walk up tall in the Committee of Nations. You must hold your head up high. Otherwise, you lose your prestige, you lose your honor, you lose... It doesn't have to come to war, but something has to give.
We have to stand for...
How does somebody slap your face or step on your and wouldn't even say sorry?
You just...
And you're the one that would even tell the person thank you.
Nigeria.
I know that as a religion, Christianity, I think somewhere in the Bible says that if they slap you in one place, turn the other cheek. If you declare Nigeria an ecclesiastical state, you can implement that policy. It's fine. But that is if that's what even that place in the Bible means when it says talking about and when it brings into statecraft. But you're a secular state. So what stops you from standing up tall to hold your own in the world? But we're not doing that. So you will continue to see countries ride roughshod over ahead because they can take us for granted. Now, ever since this happened, what has the federal government said? What has happened? What has the foreign ministry said? What has the vision ministry said? What has Aso Rock said? Everybody will keep quiet. And this might now happen again and again and again. But you see, the most important thing is, how do those Nigerians feel? When they come back home and you tell them, obey the law, obey traffic rules, obey... It doesn't make sense to them. A country that cannot stand up for them when they're in need. Yes. How then do you convince them that this country cares about them? So you have to inspire patriotism. You can't buy it off the shelf. You have to invest. You must invest in something to get something back. Nigeria must invest faith in our citizens, must invest defense, must invest patriotism. You get it back. But if you don't, then I mean, it's just there. And the last story we'll be taking on The Guardian is pandemonium as driver fleeing from LATSMA officials kill 2 sweepers. That was a big story yesterday. I would really want us to say something about that before we move in. Yeah, so I think that was around Bagada, you know, in Lagos, where that incident happened. That will be all on Newspaper Review this morning. When we come back, Naira scarcity looms. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Welcome back. In our first discussion this morning, Naira scarcity is biting harder across the country as banks have limited cash withdrawals. Residents of Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, and Adamawa, and in other parts of the country are expressing concerns over the inability to withdraw huge cash in their banks, raising fears of scarcity as experienced during Naira swap. This has also affected business transactions in local markets, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, where buyers and sellers prefer to deal in cash instead of bank transfers. My guest is Cyril Abakwe, a public affairs commentator. Welcome. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about Naira scarcity. I don't want to believe this is happening again.
Find that we are back where we were about a year ago. It brings an eerily familiar sense of deja vu, which really shouldn't be. You want to ask yourself, I mean, we know what happened last year, but now, coupled with what we saw earlier in the headlines about fuel scarcity, queues returning to Abuja, like I said, they never really went away. In Lagos, too, of course, there are queues here and there. In many Nigerian cities, now we add the Naira scarcity to it. We know that the dollar cannot be, is almost inaccessible to a lot of people. So almost everything that the Nigerian economy thrives on appears to be going to places where common people can no longer access them. But the question is, why is the Naira scarce? I think it was on the 1st of November when Daily Trust, I think, ran a story alleging that something funny was happening with the Nigerian legal tender. The CBN said no, that Naira was still very much available and that the old notes were in, and the new ones were very much legal tender. But I think that it's something a little less than that. The reality is that, I mean, the CBN hasn't even said anything significant. What we hear is that there's an attempt to mop up the old notes. But should that really be at the expense of? Because cash, what's it called? Cashless policy is different from shortage of Naira. The banks appear to be in short supply. Only last night, I attempted to use a POS, for withdrawal, and they told me they didn't have cash. I didn't consider it to be anything serious. But seeing the story now and putting things together, I think over the weekend, even in Ikeja, a lot of ATMs didn't have cash to dispense. That is strange, actually.
Very, very
That
strange.
is really, if you ask me, that is really strange. I mean, POS not having money to dispense. It's unheard of. You know what I mean? It's unheard of, yeah. So something must be happening in the north, in Adamawa, in Yobe, in Kano, in a lot of states up north. There are places where people are even saying, if you can give me cash of, let's say, $1 million, I'll give you $50,000, as gift.
Can you imagine?
Traders go to the market, they take their wares, they take things like cattle and other things. You come and say, I want to transfer them. They say, I will take my goods back to my house, and they take their cattle and their goods back home. Rather than accept bank transfers. Is that bad? Is that bad? So why should that even be happening? Why should that even be happening? Why? There's no reasonable explanation as to why we're where we are now.
Because just recently, the central bank was saying that both the old and the new currencies will still be illegal tender till further notice. So withdrawing the old cash from the system shouldn't be causing an issue. So
the matter is this simple, right? At the resolution of the legal debacle with the Supreme Court and so on, when the Buhari and Emefiele's misguided policy of cash swap was in full swing, it was an evil. You know what I mean? People were in the banks, falling down and dying.
An evil, really.
People were going naked in banks. They are trying to fight and so on.
Display their
people who needed diabetes medication and drugs for all kinds of things. You know, they were not able to access their.
Nigerians were so frustrated.
Their drugs. And what was the problem? The problem was one of a government that didn't need to do what it was doing, didn't have the will to do what it was doing, didn't have strategy, didn't have the wisdom, didn't have the good sense and goodwill to do what was just embarked on a policy to punish Nigerians. That was what happened. Now, in in the current milieu, the question is, why is cash scarce? Why are banks not able to dispense? Why is it that the CBN is limiting the supply of cash? I have not seen any reasonable, meaningful argument being put forward by the CBN to say this is the ground on which we are implementing a new policy of limiting the cash in circulation.
Do we begin to tell Nigerians to go withdraw by cash and then begin to keep or something? Because
well, so if you study classic economics, there are certain behaviors that follow certain trends. It's not what you tell them or what you don't tell them. Like I said earlier in paper review, there is no amount of grammar you will speak. When a man is hungry, he's hungry. When a man needs money, he needs money. There is no amount of goodwill that even between husband and wife or father and children, there's no amount of goodwill you will enjoy. Even if you enjoy goodwill, it won't last for long. Money is money. I mean, this is the thing. This is the unit of exchange. So money is money. There's nothing you can do about it. You cannot. There's no explanation for what government is doing. If there's any policy to mop up what's it called, old currencies, what you can even do is simple. In a Emefiele's day, they said the deadline for the old currency was, let's say, tomorrow, and today they are still dispensing old notes.
you can imagine.
That's why I said the cash swap policy was an evil. Now, so today, if you want to do something similar, why didn't the new CBN governor, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, as soon as he came in, he could have said that none of these old notes will be there till December 31. So if there's enough time for people to say, okay, pack all the old notes, take them to, so anyone that goes to the bank doesn't come back. But I think even as of 2 weeks ago, I was at a bank and I still got old notes.
There are still old
No. The banks were still issuing old notes. So what really is government doing? What is government really, yes, yes. What is no? If they wanted to take the old notes away, the banks would have stopped issuing them long ago.
A long time ago.
So since May 29, when the president. So the question is, what exactly is the reason behind the current scarcity of the Naira?
And then
the dollar is scarce, the Naira is scarce. Something is happening.
What do we spend?
Something is happening. Something is really happening. So government ought to wake up and tell us what it is they're really doing.
And don't you think this is a very big opportunity now for POS operators?
Well, yes. Of course, they're already cashing out big. But the question is, even for them, you see, there are two things. Even for them, getting money is not that easy. So, for example, there's in an area, as soon as the banks feed in the money to the ATMs, they rush to take everything out.
The POS.
Yes, of course. Yes, that's one. Then number two is the fact that I don't know how it sits with somebody's conscience. If you're giving me 10,000 naira and I'm paying 4,000, 5,000 to get 10,000 naira, even you who is doing the business, somehow you feel, your conscience should prick you to say, wow, this is unthinkable. During cash, people are paying as much as 80% of the money just to get something for them to eat and the families. People died. The last thing we want is a government that will come. I mean, the first government at least told us what they are doing. This government shouldn't come and without telling us what they want to do, just implement a policy that will in the end become worse than cash swap. I don't think that's what we need now. Government, they should tell us what it is exactly you're doing.
It's not really fair.
Last week, the CBN said no, it's not true. There's enough cash, both old and new legal tender currencies are good. But what is happening now?
People are beginning to be scared. What do we begin to tell our people now? What do we say to Nigerians at a time like this, when this fear of going cashless or cash scarcity is coming? What do we begin to tell our people?
So, like I said earlier, I don't think what we say on TV will matter. To be honest with you,
we can.
If the news, as they are hearing, is that cash is becoming scarce. The normal thing that follows, this is economic psychology, is basic human behavior.
Everybody should rush down to the bank now and begin to withdraw whatever it is they have there.
as evidence. But so do you think I would say don't run to the bank? Will I be run to feed you?
And then it will be as messy as it has always been.
So the people to talk to is federal government and the CBN to say, explain clearly what you're up to, and if there's money, release the money.
And let's have money.
You know, yes, because when this thing follows normal human behavior, there's no other way to explain it. I mean, it's very basic. You know, there are a whole community where farmers have harvested their crops. They go to the market and they say, if you want to do transfer, they take their goods back to their houses. And these are perishable things, but they prefer to have their money. Do you remember during Council, somebody brought millions of Naira in his car and was holding money? We are holding money as if it was some. And in the end, the policy was even scrapped.
So we need the people in authority, we need the central bank, we need the government, we need someone to come and talk to us and let us know where we are, what's going on, what we should look forward to, and then make life easy for the Nigerians. Okay, so that's all we'll be taking today on Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. Thanks for staying with us on the show. My guest has been Cyril Abako. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
This morning. Okay, so till we come your way again, same time, same station. Stay blessed. Have a great day.
Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.